Corki and Ziggs must ban priorities. But for members like Iraqi Zor and Zello, Gragas is also another champion that you have to think about when it comes to prioritizing whether you want that immediately for yourself, or do we start seeing Gragas left open potentially, as we've seen some, even without the Gragas. The Malphite has been sometimes a clutch pick for certain compositions when the opportunity presents itself.
We've seen some pretty sick Malphite plays today. And yeah, the tank play in the top side has been really interesting. It's really only been those two champions, I would say, over all of the pool in the Baron lane. Usually when it comes down to other champions, you're going to the Bruiser style. But Malphite has been a pretty good stand-in for Gragas, so if that champion is going to be banned away, I fully agree with you here. Seems like we are attacking the support pool, though. Both Nami and Rakan are off the board, and that is mostly just going to leave me scratching my head as to why Braum isn't one of them. I still really do favor this champion, even after the nerfs on this patch.
I wonder if between Yikes and Charm, they're having kind of a mutual agreement that the Enchanter supports are starting to rise up, as we've seen a lot of priorities towards Nami and Janna over some of the more durable supports options that we've seen. And when you have junglers that are opting into picks like Jarvan, like Wukong, and they're going down the tankier routes, and then you have a dedicated front line in your Baron lane, and you don't necessarily need another tank option in the support. You can buff it up with other options there.
Janna, notably, is still available. I also am a pretty big fan of Lulu. And, you know, for me in my games, I like playing Lux. I know that that's not really going to be a pick that we see too much. But it still counts as an enchanter in my book. You get to deal a lot of damage, and the shield is pretty good from the Prismatic Barrier. But I think that's just going to be my pipe dream. So we do ban the Ziggs on Cloud9's side. Got to get rid of that champion. Can't give it over. But, wow. So the first pick will be Malphite for Iraqi Zoro, really wanting that tank presence.
All right. So I know we said that Malphite is pretty damn good for ease of execution and being able to sync up wombos, but Malphite, you wanna play that against a bunch of physical damage. Now, if Cloud9, their gears are turned and they're saying, okay, how much magic damage can we actually get into this composition so that Malphite doesn't actually just get to stack armor for free?
Okay, here's the strategy that Cloud9 isn't going for yet, but here's the strategy. For Immortals, they lock in Malphite first, and then they force Cloud9 to pick magic damage dealing champions. And then their marksmen in mid and bot lane get to build Wit's End. Wit's End is so broken. The big strategies are coming out. Maybe this is what Immortals are thinking. Or maybe they just really want a tank in their Baron lane, and Gragas is off the board, and Malphite's the only good one. Maybe that's what we're thinking, too.
I mean, like we said before, this is ease of execution, simple, reliable engage for Malphite. We saw a fantastic Malphite Orianna Wombo earlier today. Orianna is still on the table. This Galio being locked in, though, means that you have follow-up engage with that Hero's Entrance, and then Chain of Corruptions as well. You have great ways of starting picks now if you are Immortals. Now, Cloud9, instead of going for disengage options, since they've already locked in the Braum, they're actually going to counteract with a little bit of aggressiveness themselves. They have the Cyclone option for Tarzan. They have this Jarvan as a Cataclysm bot. You're able to isolate certain members, and if Immortals don't have mobility on the last two members, they're not going to be able to escape the Cataclysm outside of Flash. That's one way to do it.
Yeah, there's the Akali. I still think that this Olaf is going to struggle into that Cataclysm. Like you said, Cataclysm very good at locking down these members. Olaf doesn't really have a way to get out other than just Flash. So I think locking in that champion is a little tricky, but we do get to see a very important matchup happen in the mid lane. We were highlighting these players for a reason. It's Akali versus Aurelion Sol, the signature pocket pick from Meals.
We didn't even get a chance to bring this champion up during the pre-game phase. I mean, but man, Meals, having played and put so much time into this game, there was at a point where Aurelion Sol was one of the strongest mid laners that you could pick in solo queue. I don't remember seeing a lot of Sol in the early stages of competitive play from what we were able to look at in research, but I mean, Meals has done absolutely disgusting things during the qualifier stage earlier this week on the Aurelion Soul.
So, past the Aurelion Soul, Rafa, I'm really curious about one thing and one thing only for Cloud9, and that is what this Jarvan allows Zello to do. Because for Cloud9, the biggest strength that we've seen Zello provide to this team is side lane threat. He is making sure to make cross-map plays and force their opponents to pressure, to think about the pressure that's being applied everywhere on the map at the same time. They can't just go for objectives. They have to think about objectives and what's going to happen to their turrets and maybe their base if they let Zello free for too long. But Jarvan's not really a champion that does that. Jarvan wants to be in the team fights with this sort of wombo combo that Cloud9 have put together.
Opted for fleet of footwork as well, so you know that Cloud9, they were planning on sending Zello to the 1v2 lane, having a little bit of sustain. They're trying to cut off this path from Lebmont. They're being able to bring a lot of members there. Yikes gets a two-man taunt here, but Zello advances forward with the Black and Drag. He's still only level 2. He's quite low on levels. First blood actually goes over to Jackie, though, as they're able to find Lebmont and Yikes on the return end of it. No one else drops from Cloud9. The members were incredibly low there, but Cloud9, just having a numbers advantage, are able to force 2 kills and that Scuttle Crab.
The biggest reason why they have the numbers advantage is because of the signature double jungle style that Charm ends up going for when they send their duo mid. Just bringing 4 members to the plays every single time. Cloud9 showing why they keep going for this strategy over and over, even when Immortals aren't bowing down and going for the match in the mid lane.
Tarzan just hit level 5, has access to the Cyclone. There's still members on his team that are only level 3 in Charm, but the rest of the members for Immortals, no one has hit level 5 outside of Arakizar, who has... Oh, okay, he starts off the fight with the Unstoppable Force. No one else is level 5, though. No one has access to Ultimate. Nice knockup from Tarzan. Going to get a Cyclone out, trades one back onto Yikes. But Hoon is here for the cleanup, finds Jackie off the back end of the Killer Instinct. Cloud9, their aggression is matched by Immortals.
Yeah, they do overstep right there. They don't have those ultimates as you called out, and they have to worry about the big teamfight power that comes with Malphite. Araki Zoro, well-timed, unstoppable force, keeps Charm just instantly dead, does not have any access to this fight at all, and Jackie's a little late too. Jackie was trying to stay in that mid lane, hitting level 5, and wasn't quite there. So the signature strength where you bring all these members for Cloud9, not quite there. They didn't have it all set up quite yet.
Gold lead somewhat even, slightly in favor of Immortals, as a nice chain of corruptions lands onto Zello. He's going to get locked down by this Cataclysm. Zello's able to buy enough time, though. Flag and drag, and thanks to a little bit of durability stats. Actually, just sitting on a Ruby Crystal, I'm surprised he did not go down. Didn't even have to burn the barrier, knowing this man's limits on the champion.
Yeah, and Goom knowing that he did not want to flash forward and try to go for any last-ditch effort because of that barrier, and because he also doesn't have any stats quite yet. Araki Zoro forced to ult away. Does he survive?
Voice of Light? The stars! Hit him with the Cosmos! Oh, but Meals doesn't have barrier! He can't go for any further aggression. Not going to be able to pick up the kill. Meals and Tarzan are extremely low here, Smax. This is dangerous, as now Lebmont sees an opportunity, but he has to flash out immediately because the reinforcements from Cloud9 arrived. Rift Herald is now on the table, but the rest of the Goon Squad from Immortals is starting to show up. 3-man taunt from Yikes. It's a Glacial Fissure trying to break up the front line from Charm. Cloud9, they're able to fight back, and despite that 3-man taunt re-engage from Immortals, it's still stuffed by Cloud9.
Wow, Yikes with an amazing engage, but can't find anything even still. No damage on the members of Immortals in this early game quite yet. They can't take down these bulky early game members of Cloud9. And Lebmont, he died very early on. Jackie does have to flash over that wall. Couldn't find the escape path that the rest of his members did. And Cloud9, they take that fight back, and they do find the Rift Herald. They have to worry about this Drake, though. Let's see if Immortals can take this fast enough.
They have to fully commit. But at this point, the rest of the members of Cloud9, they are closing in to 2,000 health on the Dragon. And Immortals sadly realize that they don't have all their numbers here. Rakizora has the unstoppable force. Oh, Lepbot stole the dragon away from Cloud9. Chain of Corruptions is spreading onto multiple members of Cloud9. Is going to see if it can lock it down. Hoon finds the perfect execution right onto Meals in the backline, flashing over the wall. It wasn't even a perfect execution. It was just a shuriken backflip. He didn't even have access to the ultimate smacks.
Wow, Hoon, expert team fighting on this Akali. You know, Rafa, it feels like every single time that Hoon is a part of a fight, things go well for Immortals. Let's see if that continues right now.
He's about to have access to perfect execution. He's trying to bait in Jackie and Charm right now. Rakizora doesn't have unstoppable force for another setup. Jackie and Charm keeping their distance, though.
I really like the way that Hoon plays this Akali, and it even comes down to the build. He doesn't go for the signature Gunblade that we often see from Akali, instead favoring the Liandry's Torment, knowing that he can take extended fights and gain access to that passive stacking up, dealing more and more damage as the fights continue. Just really like the adeptness that we... Is adeptness a word? Adeptitude?
We'll have to take a rain check on that one. Maybe we can ask our producers to look into it. But for this game, Smacks, I want to take a step back and remind the audience the stakes of this game. This being the lower bracket semifinals. These members in Immortals, Cloud9, Enemy, and Tribe, they're already your top 4. They have already qualified going into the second major. So at this point, they're playing for seeding and for the prize pool in this first major. So Immortals and Cloud9, game 1 already showing really almost even footing so far as we approach the 8-minute mark.
Oh, adeptitude doesn't exist. That feels bad.
I think you were looking for the word aptitude. If
I was trying to see if it could still apply, because I did want the word adept, but then just like in like noun form, you know? But I don't know what the noun of it is.
It's a valiant attempt, Max. No worries.
I like adeptitude, nonetheless. And I like the way that Immortals have bounced back in this game, too. Because they have taken down that Dragon Lane turret. They have this really fed Akali for Hoon. Now 2 items. This is a scary prospect for Cloud9 to deal with. And again, you have to think back to how the lane played out for Cloud9. They tried to keep that tempo going. And with their signature duo mid-tech, they only found the one play, and then they flubbed the second one, leaving Immortals with more time to punish. And you gain more access in that Dragon Lane when there's only one member. That's the sacrifice that Cloud9 makes every time they go for the strategy. If their opponents don't send 2 mid, they keep 2 bot, and Zello gets punished. That's exactly what's happened so far.
You already see a little bit of the difference on a team-wide scale in terms of enchants. Gargoyle Stone Plates available for Lebmont, Rakizora, and Yikes. Jackie was looking for an angle on a Hoon there for the pick with that Killer Instinct. It won't be available by the time next fight breaks out. Rift Herald was used to try and crash into the turret, but it's not close enough to the turret. We got 25 seconds until this next Dragon Smacks. I imagine this is where a huge momentum swing will be determined in this game.
Immortals already have that cushion where Lebmont took away that first Drake. Nicely stolen, by the way. Difficult to land those smites in the thick of it, and also pretty difficult to land those smites when you're in the Baron lane. So you can see Lebmont is trying to book it back down, see if maybe Immortals can fight this. Cloud9 have a great footing on the Drake pit, though. Lebmont did make it.
Mills is trying to approach at high velocity right now. Doesn't have a great entrance into this river. Looks for stars onto Lebmont. They force the Ragnarok, and he's already locked in with that Cataclysm. Rakizora looking for another re-engage. But once again, we have Hoon on the backline, who is just tearing apart the members of Cloud9. They've wiped out the entire backline. It doesn't even matter if Immortals are there on time, because they come in for the cleanup.
I can't believe Lebmont lived through all of that, too. The heal from Goom was clutch, and all of the extra on-healing that Lebmont gets from his vicious strikes. That was amazing that he stayed alive that whole time. Death Dance putting in a ton of work. They don't even get the Drake at this point, Rafa, but we've seen this before. Are they going to pull a Rafa? Are they gonna die to the
No,
Baron?
no, 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 no. I'm trash, Smacks. You know, their Immortals are going to be able to smite this out. Okay, it was a little close. They didn't have access to smite as Lemon had to use it to sustain off the Baron. Things were getting really dicey there. But Immortals do a great job of juggling the Baron aggro, making sure that no one goes down. All 5 members will get the Baron. But because of that reset, Cloud9 are able to book it towards the Ocean Dragon. Will be able to burn it down for themselves. They get something back, Smacks. But it's a 7,000 gold lead for Immortals. And I think another key thing in that fight that we really saw as we highlighted before going into that fight, there's like 3 stone plates enchants for the front line. And you asked, like, why Lemon didn't die? I think it's just because he was able to soak up so much damage to well-timed enchant usages. Both him and Iraqi Zoro, as Meals has a flash over the wall. Hoon is going to chase in with a shuriken backflip. Not going to find the dragon this time.
Gets out alive this one, but Hoon doesn't really have to use much of anything. The perfect execution has a very low cooldown. Jackie facing down with the Viking.
Oh my god. Death Stance, Stairx Gauge, and Stone Plate allows your Viking to just run through a turret at full HP. Doesn't even matter. Tarzan tries to look for a re-engage on the Cyclone. They find a killing blow and revenge on the Lebmon. As Meals, nice star! Gonna stun up the majority of the members of Immortals, but Xella wants to go back for the re-engage, but doesn't have enough damage on the follow-up. Cloud9 are able to defend this turret. They drop 4 members.
Meals is doing a lot of damage on the Aurelion Soul, and the stun is amazing, but the rest of this team just does not follow up, and they can't, again, find the lethal hits for Cloud9. You can see that this is another skirmish where they were landing so much crowd control, and nothing really to come for it at all. Cloud9 still fall to the wayside. This Baron buff is still online. That's 2 more turrets that Immortals were able to grab for themselves. This gold lead growing even further. And as of this moment, for Meals being the main damage dealer, for magic damage at least, and for Jackie dealing a lot of physical there, I just don't know if they can break through the front line. The Olaf seems nigh unkillable for Lepmont. And then also you have to deal with Malphite and Galio too. Like, this is so tough.
Hoon's gonna initiate with the perfect execution on the Meals, but Stasis comes out, has to use the second cast to get away, but Tarzan has him locked up with that Cyclone and the Glacial Fissure from the follow-up. Charm and the rest of Cloud9 lock down Hoon. Get a nice shutdown for themselves.
You're seeing a lot of value out of the boot enchants in this game, Rafa. The actives are clutch. The stasis right there from Meals. I don't know if he can make it out, though. He doesn't have stasis this time.
Look at approach velocity, though. It's not like the PC version where you have to go in a straight line. You can kind of curve yourself around. But Meals might have been found out. Goom. Don't disrespect the A-Soul damage, but a piercing arrow. Doesn't find its mark quite yet. Voice of Light comes out.
Wow.
The stars. Look at the stars, and yikes, he can't get over the wall. He doesn't have flash. He's like, I'm coming, buddy, but he doesn't come fast enough. Oh, man, Immortals, he's not going to be able to save and get retribution for his fallen dragon laner.
You can see that this Aurelion Soul does deal lots of damage. He can 1v1 people, but the fights are just so tricky to break through this front line for Immortals when it is a 5v5. But Cloud9 clawing back, finding skirmishes. This is how they do need to assess their skills, and they do need to keep this going. Lebmon is still dead also, so this Baron is looking pretty clean, but
watch him, though.
Akali. Oh,
goes in with a shuriken backflip. Snog up. Cyclone. Tarzan is able to secure the Baron, and Hoon doesn't even get a chance to fight anything back. It's a 4-man knockup from Iraqi Zoro, but the question is, where's your damage? Immortals, they got no damage follow-up. Your main damage dealer is already dead.
Oh, wow, Rafa. The redemption was so clutch. I believe that was Charm who activated that one, because it not only healed everyone on Cloud9 and kept them afloat in the Baron pit, but it also scouted out over the wall. Such precise positioning on that was amazing, and Cloud9, they might try to end the game right now, or at least take this inhibitor turret. People are still dead. They're going to get this for free. Cloud9, wow. Staying resilient in this game where they were down so drastically.
It looked really, really dire from Cloud9 after that dragon fight.
It looked doomed.
Yeah. At that point, we were talking about how the front line seemed almost impenetrable from Cloud9. But the trick here is, Max, is splitting up members of Immortals and not allowing them to fight their full 5-man squad. The past 2-3 fights, the entire full roster of Immortals was never there as a 5-man unit. Now, for the first time, we're going to see them all here. Oh my gosh, it's a Bounce House Cataclysm. There's a lot of action going on right now. Everyone is stacked on top of each other, but Goom has been flanked by Tarzan. He's going to be able to make it out alive, but Tarzan finds Lebmont. Going to bonk him in the face. And the rest of Cloud9 were able to deal with the rest of the members of Immortals. They don't even need the Dragon Smacks. They have the numbers advantage. They're going to end game 1 right here, right now.
I just love the positioning that Cloud9's going for in these team fights. It's completely stopping what Hoon's able to do. I mean, you can see it on your screen right there. Everyone's just grouping up. Hoon can't get in. The crowd control and the kiting and the peeling from Cloud9 is immaculate. And I think they might have just won that game down in gold just now.
We'll have to... Can we get a replay of the gold graph right there? Because I think you might have been right, Smacks. That trying to see and look at the recent match report. Oh man, see, all right.
You can see individual numbers. I'm thinking...
Riot. We need the total gold at the top when we look at the match history. Just make it like a tiny little number here.
Okay,
and a tiny
they're
little number
calculating
here.
it. We have our mathematicians on the scene.
Oh, thank you. See, this is why we love and have the best production staff ever, because they do all the brain work for us so that we don't have to use our pea-sized brains. We're just shouting at the game, just trying to tell you what is happening on screen. When it comes to that stuff, we leave it to... I know I'm speaking too much for Smacks, because Smacks actually just did a bunch of math going into this series before we were on. Like, while Alk and Casanova were going on, Smacks has been composing a giant stat sheet. It's not finished yet, folks, but it's really cool what he's working on.
Oh, okay. We just got the gold graph. So Cloud9 did gain the lead. Is there a way that you can like show this, Rafa? This
you know,
because this is amazing.
Okay, you know what? Give me 1 second. Oh,
we can get it on the screen.
Let's go.
Oh,
bam!
Look at that. Look how close that was to Cloud9 actually winning down in gold. But I mean, this steep decline in the golds for Immortals is really the highlight of this game, and all of that was because of the team fight positioning that Cloud9 showed and forcing Immortals to keep just trickling in one by one, even after they had such a dominating lead.
Now, Cloud9, you know, we've seen positions before where sometimes the early game doesn't go their way, and then they hold on and they wait for opportune moments to strike and come back into this game. Whereas Immortals, off of their win from Sentinels, it's not been necessarily the most consistent way of getting back into the game. Usually, when we see Immortals win, it is off the back of Hoon just going nuts. I mean, that Diana game 3 in Sentinels. Wow, I can't even word. And there's points where we thought, oh my god, Hoon is gonna pop off in the Sakali. This is the game. Cloud9 have no way of dealing with it. But like we said before, Smacks, you start isolating members. You go for picks right before key objectives start coming up. Then you force Immortals into a position where it's like, hey, if you take this fight, we have the numbers advantage. You don't have your primary engage for the crowd control so that your damage dealers can actually go in safely, or we just took out your damage dealers. So even if you make a primary engage, you're all just health. You're just a bunch of meat shields. You don't actually do enough damage to take us down.
Rafa, are you aware of the movie that came out in the 2010s that was a rehash of a franchise? It was about a bunch of monkeys. Are you know what I'm talking about?
Are you talking about Planet of the Apes, bro?
I am, but
okay.
So I believe what was the newer one called?
I know where you're going with this. All right, but I'll let you do it. Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes with Caesar. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So you're aware of this film. This movie, you know, it's such a cultural phenomenon. One, because it's a fun movie, but also because there's just one line of the movie that is just so important, and it reigns true for all of life, I think. And
Mm-hmm.
it's three simple words, and those words are, in fact, do you want to tell everyone what they are?
Ape together, strong.
There it is.
There it is.
Apes
Immortals.
together strong. And
Are
Immortals.
we calling Immortals a bunch of apes? This is
No.
Okay, okay.
It's an analogy.
Yeah,
It's
I
an analogy. Immortals, when they were all together, they were strong. And then they kept going in one-on-one, and their front line became much easier to break through. You saw that for Olaf, when he's snowballing for Lebmont, he's got the Death's Dance, so he can keep going in the fight. And you've got Yikes on this Galio, and you've got Iraqi Zoro on this Malphite. They're all just diving in, and you have this crazy wall of tanks. But if you give the opponents enough time to just single you out as a tank, then you're not really tanking anything, really.
Mm-hmm.
You're just taking a bunch of free damage and dying while your backline's not dealing any damage. So you're not doing anything. And that's exactly what Cloud9 took advantage of.
Yeah, it's about effective tankness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or being an effective tank. There's many times where we see in solo queue that someone who is on Malphite or Garen, Gragas as well, they'll go in 1v5, and it's like, okay, I just soaked up about 4,000 units of damage, right? But where's your damage follow-up? You went in past 2 turrets, making that engage. Your damage dealers are all the way back here. So, it doesn't matter if you're tanking damage if you're not actually doing it, while at the same time your damage dealers are going in with you, right? And so the early dragon fights that we saw from the side of Immortals, when all 5 of them were there, they landed the Wombo, Malphite ult into the hero's entrance from Yikes. They all piled up, buying so much time and making it incredibly easy for Goom and for Hoon to just wreak havoc. There's so much chaos. I mean, there's literally a fight where everyone was stacked up on top of each other, and you could not tell what was going on in that fight. And that's where Immortals thrive. But then Cloud9 being able to isolate members, they swing the gold lead back in their favor. And then it gets to a point where not even Immortals, the way that they constructed their damage dealers, are able to get access to the backline of Cloud9.
It's an amazing comeback story for Cloud9 in this game. And of course, it is that best of 3. They do still need to take at least one more game to maybe get the big fairy tale run all the way through the lower bracket. Maybe they can go up against Tribe in the grand finals at the end of the day. But for Immortals, they've got a longer road ahead of them now because of that. And I think if they do comprise a team composition that has 3 tanks on it again, or at least 3 frontliners, because Olaf by the end of the game is sort of just a tank.
You're just a meat shield. Your effective damage isn't that great unless you're able to isolate one of the marksmen by yourself, right? Which we did see as he ran past the turret, taking out Jackie and still being able to make it out alive, which was, as a Dragon Laner, that doesn't feel great.
No.
And I imagine Alk has faced that
just runs
situation
past the Braum
many times. You're the Braum, you're like, wait, I'll save you.
You can't do anything.
Like, you can't do a damn thing, boy. I got Ragnarok right now. You can't slow me. You can't knock me up. Huh. It's like the X-Men film. I'm the Juggernaut. You start going through, man. Well, Immortals are going to have to figure out what kind of adaptations they need to make. I mean, because technically for them, the early game worked out extremely well in those fights. It's just then it comes to the macro game, and that's something that Cloud9 have historically throughout their course in the qualifiers and leading up to the major have been pretty damn good at Smacks.
Absolutely have. And while Cloud9 they've been our most innovative team, I think they have had their ups and downs over the course of it. They did, of course, have to play in the second qualifier after attempting in the first one. And I think in many ways, a lot of those things are true of the X-Men movies as a franchise, if you think about it. They've got their ups and downs. Sometimes their star players aren't there. Like whenever there's an X-Men movie where Hugh Jackman's not there, it's
Damn.
a little bit worse.
So who's
And
Wolverine?
oh, I was talking about Cloud9.
Oh, okay.
Hoon can be Wolverine though. I think that's a pretty fair description. And then Lebmont is obviously Juggernaut.
That
Yeah,
makes sense
yeah.
to me.
I think Tarzan is probably Professor X if I had to assign him someone. Because he's sitting in the chair, he's getting like the 5-head predictions on where the enemy jungler is going to be and then going and invading.
I feel like if we have to save the Professor Xavier one for anyone, I think it's T Tigers, man, because he has been the best performing jungler. Tarzan though,
I guess one of them is Professor Xavier, one of them is Magneto, because they're big rivals in this tournament as like the 5-head junglers. So they can decide between the two of them, I suppose, which one's which.
We'll have to start keeping track of our X-Men and player lore. I wonder if we can, like after this tournament, we should start road mapping a graphic between, all right, which player is which, right?
Yeah.
This draft.
We could make it easier and just have them all do like BuzzFeed quizzes. Which X-Men character are you?
Okay. Yeah. We'll reach out to the teams and see if the players even want to do that. I imagine half of the players either won't be interested or they may not know what X-Men is, depending on how young they are.
It's been around for so long, and they are still making movies. It's not like it's over. I mean, Wolverine's story is over, but they're still going.
Well, I think it's
I can pretend.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you pretend, Smacks, and I'm going to get back to reality, because reality right now dictates that we have a Game 2 draft going on right now. And for Immortals, they have one more band up into the table. They've taken away Charm's Braum, as, you know, one of the things you've talked about Braum being so damn good at in the past, Max, is it's great into anti-dive. It didn't work so well in the earlier grouped up fights, but there's a couple key moments from Charm, being able to land Glacial Fissure, stopping Hoon in his tracks, or being able to clip him as he was looking for an escape.
I'm noticing a trend with all of the bans that Immortals have, and that is that they are all anti-dive champions. All 3 of these are very strong at kiting back and being a resilient backline. So that tells me is that Immortals are really wanting to do dive again, and I can't blame them. They did a great job of it in that early game, and it mostly just fell apart because they didn't stick together and they didn't go for the dive composition consistently, or as consistently as I would have liked them to. Malphite now banned away. That's the main adaptation that Immortals are going to have to think about, but that does mean that Gragas is up.
Yep. That was the big decision that Cloud9 had to make as they were settling on whether they were going to ban the Gragas or the Corki away. Lucian is also something that has escaped the ban list from the table. However, even though if it is not suited Alk's standards and expectations, Lucian has not been the highest performing member in this tournament so far. And Immortals, they see the Gragas, they remember that trying to remember what the win rate number was for the major so far. I don't have the number for the major. I just remember for the qualifier, by the end, it had like a 75% win rate earlier this week. So, and Gragas, pretty damn good champion to have on your team for Immortals.
Have to agree. And that's the trade that Cloud9 were willing to make. Like you said a little bit ago, Malphite or Gragas, which one do you give over? And it seems like they just want to push Iraqi Zoro onto something else, because that Malphite was so consistent in the team fights. And for Cloud9, as you called out, they do now get to trade that for Lucian. They also get Camille, which is one of Zelo's strongest champions.
We haven't really seen Tarzan pick the Camille for himself in the jungle. We know that many other players like Tybe and Tigers have been able to flex that for themselves in the jungle role away from the Baron laner if they need a certain counter pick available. But Zelo had a fantastic game on the Camille during that qualifier. I believe it was against YMCA, or maybe it was Yawn. He was able to split push the map into his favor. And there's a little dragon fight that erupted where Cloud9 had kept the opposition there for so long, and Zelo just literally backdoored the game and closed it out.
It's pretty amazing stuff that Zello can do on this champion. And as you said, we're expecting it to go to him, whereas other teams would slot it jungle. And we are going to have to see if that is going to be the case, because Zello did just have a nice game on Jarvan, and that will be the lock-in for Cloud9. So perhaps Tarzan is delving into Camille a little right now. But one thing's for certain, Cloud9 did just draft themselves a big team fight dive composition in their own right.
Thankfully for Immortals, Iraqi Zoro, you have great disengage options with the Explosive Cask. Chain of Corruptions can also halt things down and dissuade them from being able to pursue further. And now this is the big pivot from Immortals. Hoon is not going for an Akali, as he doesn't necessarily know which mid laner he is going up against, whether it's going to be a Lucian or if it's going to be something else for Meals. He's going to go for a Blind Twisted Fate. And this is now going to potentially unlock a lot of map pressure to counteract the split pushing that Cloud9 might want to look to do with Zello's Camille.
I wonder if Hoon is willing to put Camille, or not Camille, willing to put Twisted Fate into mid lane against a duo. I think that's the most interesting thing that we're going to have to see, as Cloud9 have just locked in Lulu. Is this another Rakan mid player, or is it just Lulu mid?
See, if this was like an Olaf or a Xin Zhao, the Lulu mid, well, okay. So either way, Lulu mid makes a ton of sense when you have an aggressive jungler that thrives off of getting in the face of the opposition like Xin Zhao and Olaf, because they have a ton of base stats. They have cooldowns that allow them to get a lot of just damage out for free, and they really just need someone to empower them so that they can gain access to the backline. Jarvan is not necessarily the same type of champion, but I mean, if we want to bring out League of Legends lore and that esports history smacks, this is very similar to compositions that SK Telecom would run back in season 5, when they had Faker Bang, and Faker would run Lulu. You would have Bang on Lucian, and it was just an empower the Lucian comp, and putting a lot of marbles in Jackie's court and trying to empower them to the best of their ability.
One thing's for sure with this Lulu pick is that Meals is very skilled at it, as our wonderful stats genius Lena has just informed us. Meals has a 100% win rate on the Lulu in 3 games so far, looking to maintain that. And just like I was saying before in the draft phase, I was curious to know whether Hoon was wanting to put Twisted Fate into mid lane against the duo. Turns out he doesn't want to do that. He does just want to stay in the long lane with Meals, and this is going to be the first time in this series that Immortals do give in and send their duo lane to match Cloud9 in mid.
And Cloud9 so far. Scuttle Crab is going to spawn in the next 15 seconds. Lebmont already poised around the bottom side of the map as he goes for red buff into a Krug camp clear after what I believe was the Raptor camp. Scuttle Crab will spawn. They have full control over this bottom side of the map. Cloud9 opt in for top control. Crab will go their way. And so far, it's just been a nice exchange. No aggressive action early on. Iraqi Zoro keeping his distance in that Baron lane at the moment because he knows that he does not have his jungler on that side of the map. But they might go for a dive onto the Dragon lane. Meal's getting extremely low. Dead. And first blood does go over to Lebmont.
Wow, we see that dive coming through onto Cloud9's vulnerable lane. This is very interesting because for Immortals, you can see that they are sort of just doing Cloud9's thing, but better. They're roaming around with Lebmont and Yikes on this Senna, and just finding pressure in the side lanes and in the invades.
Oh no, they're going to repeat dive. They're going to repeat dive. They have level 5s on Hoon and Lebmont. Meals is only level 3. Oh. He doesn't have the stats. He popped heal. He popped flash. Can he buy enough time under the tower? But Immortals, they juggled the turret aggro beautifully.
That was so well done. Any turret shot onto any of the 3 members by the end would have been death. Immortals making sure to press their limits to the maximum, and they don't die either. That's Meals now dying twice on Lulu. 2 trips to the fountain and only a Kindle gem to show for it is not what Meals was looking for when he picked this Lulu.
Meals is still level 3 smacks. This is so brutal at this kind of start. And honestly, for Immortals, when you're at match point against the opposition as Zello, now he's getting oppressed by Lebmon. You go into the tower, Hextech Ultimate was already used, Rakizoro having used Explosive Cask. And look at this, Hoon already making his presence on the map with that Destiny. Tarzan comes in for a flank. Cataclysm locks Lebmon under the tower, but Rakizoro was the one tanking turret aggro. So he's going to get out. Culling comes out. Jackie is trying to pierce through the remaining members, but the piercing light doesn't find the mark on the Lebmon, as all the members of Immortals are able to shield him beautifully.
Immortals are still doing Cloud9's strategy, but better right now, Rafa. They're sending the Xin Zhao to all of the side lanes. And by all, of course, I do mean 2. There are 2 total. But both of those lanes are now so far ahead, and Hoon's Twisted Fate has been there for all of it. I love the fact that the mid-jungle duo is, you know, it's a bit unorthodox with the places that they're going, but they are the ones that are snowballing this game out of control for Immortals. They're off to yet another early game lead.
And something that, to note, Smacks, that we didn't get to see we don't see the level lead anymore, but despite all of that map pressure from Lebmont, Tarzan had to spend a majority of his time trying to counter jungle and find an advantage that way. But because Lebmon had found successful gank after gank, both 2 dives onto the Dragon lane, another dive onto the Baron lane, he still is able to accelerate in gold despite having less camps than Tarzan. And now this advantageous fight for Immortals, it's a great position to be in. Tarzan tries to go in, but doesn't set up the Cataclysm quite yet because he doesn't have it available. But it does buy enough time for the rest of the Cloud9 members to survive. Can't say the same about Charm.
Another kill for the Immortals squad, and this is going to mean Dragon. Cloud9 committing to this fight rather than going for the trade means that they don't even get the Rift Herald to show for it either, Rafa. Cloud9 just being run around the Rift, and oh no, Meals!
Not
Watch
again.
Out!
Well, Charm and Tarzan, they're in hot pursuit. They're going to be here this time. Meals gets a nice flash away. Charm with the battle dance into the knockup onto Goom, forcing him to get stuck under the Cataclysm. Has to flash away. Tarzan is still in hot pursuit. Lebmon had already gone in for the killing blow onto Meals, is able to trade him out. Culling comes out, but it's a swag flag from Tarzan. Meanwhile, Lebmon, he's on a rampage, Max. He has torn through Charm and Meals, and Zello's trying to find him. Oh, but he goes for the wrong direction. But there's a Hoon there. Gold card. Oh my god, so much damage from Lebmon. Piercing Light finds its mark, but Hoon, if he can get another gold card, he might be able to stun up Jackie. Jackie counting the cooldowns, has to back off now.
Okay. So Cloud9 had a great response. I think Jackie might be dead, though.
Oh, he had Meals in his back pocket, counting on the shield to keep themselves alive. Cloud9, they are testing their limits. They are down a bunch in kills at the moment, Smacks, but the gold lead, still surprisingly, is still only 1,500 in favor of Immortals.
Yeah, but look at Lebmon. He's 5 kills on Xin Zhao. Full Sterix completion. This has been an amazing game from Lebmon and Hoon, as they do go into the deep end with that one.
Yikes.
Remaining in the deep end.
Well, it's Crescent Guard splits up the entire members. Beautiful explosive cast from Iraqi. Zoro. Tarzan has nowhere else to run. That's going to be a nice isolation pick and a return response from Immortals. Cloud9 still trying to find ways back into this game, Smacks, and keep themselves afloat. But with each play, Immortals slowly increasing that gold lead in their favor.
Cloud9 do feel like they are descending into madness in this game, I think. They're more and more open to fighting the members of Immortals around the Rift. And it does mean that they don't pick up the Rift Herald. They don't even think of taking it, as Immortals, after all this fighting, still managed to get it about 3 minutes after it has spawned. Lebmont trying to keep that lead going. We'll see if they can take it down that full turret. So Rakizoro getting some alone time in the Dragon lane, be able to push this wave in. And this might be the time that they can strike for Immortals. They're recalling now. Lebmont, he's got this full BF sword and making his way down to that bottom side of the map.
I think he's just about to rush a straight up GA, Smacks. Between Sterix Gauge and Stormplate, he has so much effective HP as a Rakizoro. He's going to pop his own Stone Plate, buys enough time for Hoon and Lebmont to be able to chase up. Explosive Cask is a little wide as Cloud9 bot lane is able to escape from the grasp of Immortals. Another Dragon won't be spawning for another time. Tarzan looking for more onto Goom. Still has Cataclysm, finally pops it down. Meals with the Wild Growth knockup is going to put Goom in a very bad position, but Stasis into the flash. It's going to give him a nice ticket out of danger.
And I believe that was the Rift Herald used in the Dragon Lane. Oh, they didn't even use it, but they still got the turret down there because the members of Cloud9 had to run mid to protect that fight. So they still have this Rift Herald they can use. It's looking like it might happen up in this Baron lane as Zello is in danger, but so is Charm.
Yeah, Charm taking a lot of damage. Gleaming Quill will keep him topped off for somewhat. Iraqi Zora and Lemon are quite low on HP, though. Tarzan and Jackie in hot pursuit. Finds a flag and drag. Takes down Iraqi Zora. Culling finds its mark on Lemon. It's huge. Huge shutdowns for Cloud9. However, Tarzan is not in a good place anymore as he died for the greater cause. Cloud9 still trying to do their best to stabilize this gold lead that Immortals have.
You see what I'm saying about the descent into madness, Rafa? Cloud9 just going for all the fights that they possibly can. And you know what? This makes a lot of sense based on how they won Game 1. Because for Immortals, they ended up being very scattered in the fights, and they didn't respect the ability of Cloud9 to come back into this game. And Cloud9, you can see, are trying to go for that same win condition right now. This is going to be tricky, though, because now Immortals have one single thing that they want to do, and it is take this dragon. So Cloud9, yeah, you can't actually fight this one. You're not going to be able to scatter the members of Immortals with this.
So take a quick look at this, Max. So the way that Immortals have stacked up their frontline builds, some Fire Bramble, Sterix Gauge into what will be a GA, and then both Stone Plate options. They're just trying to stack up as much HP. However, this is an opportunity for Cloud9 trying to find something on a Yikes, who just already burned both of their summoner spells, still not able to get out alive. Zello looking for a flank. Hexa ultimatum onto Goom. Tarzan for the re-engage, lands a two-man knockup into Charm for the follow-up. How do Cloud9 keep doing this, Max? Explosive Cask is here, but a beautiful flag and drag, and I think it was a hook shot into a stun from Zello. And just like that, Cloud9, once again, Smacks, they're trying to find fights in their favor. Iraqi Zora going in for more. I mean, Lemon has to be there for the follow-up. Gets in there. Oh my goodness. Lemon! How does he have this much damage? Just building Sterix Gauge, but Jackie's able to kite it out. Meals, they're making it work. Cloud9 still able to survive.
Oh, it was so close. Both of the members still walking away with 1 HP left. Rafa, these fights. I love Wild Rift, man. This is a good game. Immortals, they're still struggling in these exchanges to find big sweeping victories despite their gigantic lead. And I have to, again, credit Cloud9 a lot for finding these fights. And it's been a lot of the bot lane duo. Jackie and Charm are fighting so well. And Charm finding that amazing re-engage on Rakan, using the mobility so well. Jackie still deathless in this game, the only person to say that. And oh, I really love this Tank Buster build that he went for, too.
Thank you!
This is a
classic. I was like, please, Max, look at the build. Look at the items, man. It's so cool because you look at Immortals' front line, and they're stacking all this HP. They're stacking all this armor. Normally, you can go for more damage-oriented builds on Xin Zhao, but because it's just a bunch of temporary health, essentially, between Stoneplate and Sterix Gauge, Jackie, now, he's going to burn Cleanse and Flash, and he's going to still keep himself alive. And with the Black Cleaver and the ability haste, you're able to kite your way out. Blade of the Rune King is also going to give you a lot of sustain, but Meals now being down means you don't have an enchanter anymore. Tarzan going in 1v5 at the moment, trying to just buy time for the rest of Cloud9 to get out alive. Zello was there looking for a flank, could not make it there in time.
Ooh, and you were seeing that the 5v5 is still favoring Immortals right now. They might not have that scaling advantage as we keep going, but for right now, they can win out on these exchanges. Baron, super tricky to start up with all these members of Cloud9 here, but nice pick.
Oh, God. Wow. Zello just gets deleted. Cloud9, it's up to Charm and Jackie. Can they fight? 2-on-5. Chain of Corruptions lands. Jackie has to dash away from the expanding chains. Jackie, they can't do a 1v5 miracle play here. This is a Baron going over to Immortals.
Immortals was on the same page in that Baron exchange so well. You have to have complete focus as all 5 members for those exchanges, and they absolutely did. Making that turn on a dime for both members of Cloud9 that tried to dive in, still being able to turn back, take the Baron for themselves. They didn't quite get the shutdown onto Jackie yet, but that big objective and the big team fight win is huge in trying to come back into this series. Because again, they are still at that match point. If they do lose this game, they're out of the major. They have to wait to play more games for about a month. That's so long.
It would be enough time to recollect and get some more practice in. I imagine that a patch or two might come into play during that Wild Rift as Tarzan looks for an opportunity on Nagoom, just flash for Cataclysm. Tarzan still looking for more. It's taking a lot of damage. Chain of Corruption comes out to dissuade the rest of Cloud9 being able to pursue. Meanwhile, Lebon is just... He's splitting on the Baron side of the map. He won a 1v1 against Cloud9 Zello. He didn't kill him, but it forced him back, and now Lebon has an opportunity to flank. The rest of Cloud9 have to retreat. That gold card, being able to pursue Meals for so long. Lebon wants it. Might have dived a little too far. Still has GA. Sterix Gauge pops. Stoneplate blocks. And he... God.
He's alive!
Lebon just really pushing the limits right now on the Xin Zhao, man.
He does have to recall, and the Drake is up, so a little bit risky, honestly, but Immortals, they're going to recollect, and they're going to gather around this, finding all this vision. You can see that they've got it scattered throughout this section of the jungle. Cloud9 can't go forward, even though the jungler's not there. Well done from Immortals. That's 3 Drake stack for them, too. And Rafa, I'm loving the way that they've recollected themselves for Immortals. This is a nice show of poise and adaptability.
You know, when Alec and Casanova were casting all the best of 3s early today,
Nah, game's fine.
Yeah. Tarzan does have a Black Cleaver, but it's just Sunfire and Bramble, so it doesn't do enough damage on his own. He can't one-shot people.
I feel like you're in elementary school trying to tell a story out of like the book, and Tarzan is the little kid who's like, "Excuse me, Mr. Rafa, my favorite color is green." And you're like okay, thank you, Tarzan. Can I get back to reading?
I mean, this whole game, anytime that we try to talk about something that's like cool, somebody has to just start fighting again. It's okay. Both teams, they're trying to find advantages to close out this game. Immortals, respectively, to close out the game. Cloud9 to get back into this game. Now, we have passed the 15-minute mark. Elder Dragon hasn't spawned quite yet. Zello is getting some work done on the map on the Dragon side of the lane. Stoneplate comes out. Wild Growth is used to try and keep Tarzan alive, but he doesn't have a GA. He's going to go down. Charm trying to do all he can to find more crowd control to buy Cloud9 an advantage back into this fight. But they're being kept back by the massive front line from Immortals. And Hoon, with his gold card, can threaten any single member. The rapid fire cannon as well gives him the extended range, even though Jackie, under the safety of the Nexus, almost getting 2-shot there.
The team fighting from Immortals is just so genius. I'm loving the way that they operate when they have all 5 members, and it really makes me wish that they did this in the first game. As Charm, you gotta run.
Charm has Battle Dance. Meals doesn't have the same mobility, though. They try to get a shield down. Lemon is still on the pursuit. Jackie's on the other side of the wall, trying to get some chip damage down, but now Jackie might have isolated themselves away from the rest of Cloud9. There's nowhere else to run. And this is going to be what I believe one of the first deaths from Jackie in this game. Cloud9 down 11,000 gold smacks. There's the only miracle that they can hope for is if they can last until the Elder Dragon make a flip.
Or maybe they find something in the side lane. As Zello is still playing this Camille, we've seen some miracle plays in the side lanes from this player. But I say that, and they still have to worry about this Baron. Nice redemption to scout this out. They know that it's going on, but it might be too late.
Tarzan goes in. 3,000 health. It's burning it down ever so slowly. Tarzan's still half HP, but the members of Immortals are doing great diligence in making sure that the Baron isn't burned close enough for Tarzan to steal the objective away. Zello, Tarzan all fall at the hands of Immortals, and it's up to Cloud9 to see if they can defend the remains of their base. With the Baron buff on Immortals' side, they're going to start shoving in waves.
You can see the Cloud9 did have the wherewithal to get into that pit, and they found a nice engage, but they just can't afford to bring all of their members to these plays. Goob almost just killed Jackie, but still, in a 1v3, that's a nice shutdown. It's the first kill they've been able to get in the past few minutes.
Jackie is just trying to go crazy right now. They have 2 enchanters at their side in Charm and Meals, and this is the idea of the composition that was supposed to come in the first place for Immortals.
I love this play.
Oh, man.
Another inhibitor turret down. Cloud9, you can already see that they can't even leave their base.
Ah! Oh, that's a Captain Jack cleanse from Jackie. Just instantaneously, as soon as the gold card landed, it didn't even register a stun instantly.
God.
But just so much damage already coming from Hoon. I think Casanova said before.
That red card?
Yeah, the red card did so much damage. You remember when Casanova was like, "Hey man, Twisted Fate is not necessarily like a carry pick." I guess when Hoon's playing it in this far ahead, the cards just do a crap ton of damage.
Youch! Look at this.
What the heck, man?
If he throws a red card into the enemy team, they all just take half their HP. This is gross. And he's just playing zone control so well. You can see the rest of Immortals are able to take down Elder Dragon.
Oh my god! Tarzan tries to go for the pick onto Hoon, but gets deleted by a red card before Jackie even has a chance to follow up on the engage. Charm is just throwing his body into the wolves of Immortals, trying to see if they can get Meals and Jackie out alive. But Hoon, oh my god!
He crit it with the rapid fire 25%.
That is by far one of the grossest Twisted Fate games I have ever seen. And I think we have been blessed with the full best of 3 curse. Or, no, it's blessed curse.
It's a blessing.
It's everything, Smacks. We're going the distance. Immortals bring us to a game 3. And for us, Smacks, I can't even fathom. Can we show the damage charge from Hoon's Twisted Fate that game?
Oh,
is that possible? Because I'm looking at this and it just looks like a giant middle finger to Cloud9 right now, man. Oh my god.
Wow. I'm still cracking up at that Twisted Fate. Usually, when you go for rapid fire cannon, the reason you're doing it is just for the extended range. But I mean, if you're gonna get crits on your cards, you're not gonna complain. Because he just one-shots Jackie.
Just roll the dice every time, and then, oh yeah, empowered auto attack from gold card into crit. Lich Bane proc 2? Jesus.
He's a gambler. That's the Twisted Fate lore coming in.
All right. Well,
that was awesome.
We're not going to get the damage chart, ladies and gentlemen. Just take our word. It literally is like Baron lane damage, jungler kind of damage, and then the other dragon laner and the support kind of damage, and then just giant stick of damage. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to take a break as we recharge and get ready for the final game of the series between Immortals and Cloud9. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Game 3 for Immortals and Cloud9 is about to begin. Just a few more moments. Now, just to remind everyone at home, top 4 finish for any of these teams already means that they are automatically qualified into the second major coming at the end of this month, starting on the 28th of August. But it's still playing for better seeding and a chance to go up against enemy in that lower bracket finals. And I know that both of the teams in Cloud9 and Immortals, they don't want to go home just yet, Smacks.
Yeah, and we got a big old prize pool too, 10K for this tournament that these teams are fighting for. True. So, you know, if that was me, I'd be down to get that 10K. I'd want to win it all. I want to go to the grand finals and beat Tribe at their own game. That'd be fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing which one of these teams can maybe make that miracle run. But they've got to go through one another. They've got to go through enemy, and maybe they got to go through Tribe too if they can get that far. So we'll have to see. We've got a lot of games left in store for us, but it's up to Immortals and Cloud9 to actually get there after this one last game of this series.
For Immortals and Cloud9, as we get ready for our last draft of this series between these two teams, we know that Cloud9 have had kind of the earlier marks of a team to look out for in this upcoming major. But I have to say, we have to give a lot of credit over to Immortals. With each series that they have played in this major, they have leveled up their gameplay further and further. The early drop into the lower bracket might have shocked, some members and especially themselves, as, Hoon being such a spectacular player that is from this roster. But Ledmont and the rest of Immortals were able to coordinate such a aggressive and disgusting early game opener, being able to coordinate back-to-back dives, and the way that the experience was able to play out in Ledmont and Hoon's favor. They both hit level 5 by the time Meals came all the way down towards that long lane, and they just dove him again. So Meals not only set incredibly far behind, but he's playing an Enchanter support for Cloud9, where there should be at least one hyper carry that you can benefit from buffing up and giving a ton of stats to. And even though Jackie's Lucian was navigating the fights extremely well, it just seemed like it was not enough damage from Cloud9 in the end.
For Cloud9, they are switching over to the blue side, so they will have the priority first pick to go for. We don't know what that's going to be quite yet, as Immortals still have a few big, powerful champions to ban away. They have selected to still remain with the Nami ban. So resilient with that does mean that there are still a lot of power picks that they have to worry about, as they are on that red side. They don't have that first pick anymore. The big ones are Corki and Ziggs, of course. I feel like I'm a broken record with that, because Corki and Ziggs are just, they're just way too good, and you got to pick them if they're still up. So Immortals likely going to need to ban that out. Cloud9, though, they remove Braum, so we're sticking with the supports being off the table that are best at peeling.
For Immortals, if we recall their bans from the previous game, Nami, Braum, and Xayah. For Cloud9, it was Malphite, Corki, and Ziggs, respectively. So far, at this rate, Smax, we're going to see one of the three being given up between Malphite, Corki, and Xayah. Now, I imagine that the ban from Immortals for the Xayah was to ensure that Jackie didn't have a marksman that would be able to self-peel so well into a team that just wants to go headfirst, diving past the front line into the back line. And even though Jackie had, two supports that game, just lack of damage meant that it was not easy for them. And Cloud9 are going to actually kind of open the table here by taking the Rakan ban off the table. It leaves the other three picks that we're thinking about. Now, it's... even if Immortals bans one, there will be a potential trade of picks here.
What's really interesting, Rafa, is that Cloud9 have just banned away the two supports that Charm has played in this series. It was Braum in Game 1 and Rakan in Game 2. So they're just forcing their support to play a third champion with that. It's going to be interesting as Corki's up. Oh, red alert.
Okay, Immortals have to know. They are willingly giving up the Corki in exchange for what I'm assuming is going to be the priority Baron laner now in Malphite. And then maybe for, I guess... a jungle priority pick, but it just seems so strange that we have seen Game 3s happen from Cloud9 where Meals, off the back of Corki, was able to bring back and close out the series in their favor. The packages have been immaculate. The damage output, as soon as he completes the Solari Charge Blade second item, paired with that Essence Reaver, is just filthy.
He's all spooled up, Rafa, ready to go on the Corki. And I'm shocked that Immortals have not banned this one away, but just like you said, Rafa, they do still get that Malphite in response. They will have that locked in for Araki Zoro. Big enough priority that Cloud9 did ban it after his performance on it in Game 1. So I like that is going to be the trade, but still very dangerous game that Immortals are playing, giving over Meals, this superpower champion.
So Immortals have a little bit of a blend of both.
Oh! Whoa! It's going to Jackie!
All right, Jackie is going to get the Corki. Meals swapping in with the Orianna this time around. You have a better setup for Wombo from Cloud9. You have great ball delivery systems in either the Cyclone from Tarzan or off of the back of the Cataclysm from Zello. Immortals have a little bit of back and forth. They have powerful engage with this Unstoppable Force, obviously, and Chain of Corruption to follow up, but you also have disengaged options with that Crescent Guard, with the Monsoon that Yikes have locked in. The only problem is, Cloud9, if they don't pull themselves ahead in the early game, it's going to be difficult for them to actually prevent the engages from Immortals.
I like the call out that you made on the disengage options of Janna and Xin Zhao, but the problem is going to be that neither of those help when it comes to Cataclysm. You're still locked in to the death zone that Zello is going to put up. So I feel like that is going to be pretty dangerous for Immortals. And when that ability is available, they will have to keep all eyes on Zello, who is on this champion yet again. We've seen the Cloud9 have traded this back and forth between Baron Lane and Dragon, or in Jungle rather, Charzane just playing it. So Cloud9 putting a lot of priority on this flex pick for their team. I think it's going to be really valuable for them in this game.
Cloud9 are also able to, not sure if it was planned or not, but they get the swamp in sending Zello into the Twisted Fate and then sending Meals into the Malphite. This means that you get a chance to harass Arakizor even more easily, as you have the range advantage, you have the shields for yourself, and you have the auto attacks, the consistent harass from your passive. And as Zello for Jarvan, you can trade decently against Hoon with Flag. Oh no, Charm. Oh, this is bad. This is very bad. Immortals, a huge pick onto Charm, is going to find their mark as Tarzan looks to try and equalize, but they can't because Hoon rotates up on over. Jackie is going to fall. Zello's the only one that makes it out alive, but disaster for Cloud9 and a great win for Immortals.
Wow, I was really worried that Lebmont was going to be late to the party as he was still taking down that blue buff, but he smites it away, knowing that the positioning wasn't there for the Scuttle Crab. He will have to give that over, but the fight is still just so favored for Immortals in that exchange. They brought more members, and again, Immortals have this adaptation where they know what Cloud9 are going to go for. They can beat them at their own game. They can predict the movements, and we're seeing it happen yet again. I'm loving this look from Immortals where they are just stepping up to the plate and challenging Cloud9's fastball.
It's a huge gold spike for Immortals, almost 1,500 in their favor. A majority of that benefactor is both Hoon and the respective Dragon Laner for Goom. This puts them a little bit closer towards the Rod of Ages and the Manamune power spike. And when you think about poke, you think about siege for Immortals. Varus being able to hit that first item is so crucial to be able to land up the poke before the engages start around these objective fights.
Crucial movements will have to be made for Immortals to keep that advantage. They've had the early game lead, though, in all three of these games. I think that's so impressive. Against Cloud9 of all teams, that Immortals showing us that their main strength as this team is the early game. They're so ferocious when it comes to this aspect, and they can put the pedal to the metal when they have all of the focus to do so. I think this is just such a cool way to play out this game. Even though I've been, antsy around early game compositions I've had my disagreements with the compositions that are being put to the table when it comes to that playstyle. I think Immortals are drafting themselves in positions where they do still have scaling. I mean, all it really takes to know that that's true is to watch Hoon's game 2 on the Twisted Fate. He's dealing so much damage on Twisted Fate. Their late game is not a problem. As long as they get that early lead, Immortals are so scary to deal with.
And look at Hoon, already positioned around the dragon, starting it up while Tarzan was on a recall. Whether Immortals knew that information or not sure. But Immortals actually just back off as they have to fight for mid-control at the moment. This is going to give Cloud9 enough time to come back in, but notice here, the only item power spikes that have been available for Cloud9 is just that Seraph's Embrace from Meals. And Cloud9, they recognize that they're at a disadvantage when it comes to overall stats against Immortals. They're not going to take an opt into the fight. They give up the first dragon. They will secure this Rift Herald, though.
Yeah, good move from Cloud9. This is what I was hoping they would do in Game 2, but they did just succumb to the fights that Immortals were bringing to the table. Cloud9 actually do get an advantage in that early game right now, and they might have found Iraqi Zoro. They're still unstoppable for us. Yeah, this is a very difficult champion to take down. Not going to stop them from trying, though.
Rift Heralds immediately spawned in this Baron lane off the back of forcing Iraqi Zoro away. Still has Flash and Barrier, but no unstoppable force to try and trade around. But Immortals had already taken down the first turret of the game in that Dragon lane, where Zello was not able to defend it, as there were 4 members dedicated already to the push. Immortals might be able to get another turret back while the rest of Cloud9 are split between both the mid lane and the Baron lane at the moment.
Wow.
And Immortals, they're winning out on the map.
Absolutely are. Cloud9 tunneled super hard on the Baron lane, and with that Rift Herald that they took, I don't blame Cloud9 for wanting to do so, because if it was just a trade of one turret for one, and they can get that extra charge as they still did, and they can chunk out the inner turret in the Baron lane. But Immortals, they have so much control thanks to that early lead. They can push out both lanes at the same time, and this opens up the map so well for them. This is so valuable for an early game composition, but specifically for Twisted Fate, because it means that there are just more places to teleport to with Destiny.
The map has been opened up, as you said, Smacks, which means that Hoon is able to extend his presence and his threat range with that Destiny even further beyond. So Cloud9, it means the further you walk up away without a turret means the farther you are extended. And it just gives a greater chance for Immortals to really catch you out. So this is the point in the game where Cloud9 have to be extremely difficult. They're trying to minimize the amount of deaths and the amount of losses that they're taking right now. It's still a 3,000 gold lead up ahead for Immortals, but I think what Cloud9 learned from Game 2, every time they kept trying to dip into the madness, as you called it out during that match, they just fell in further and further behind. They weren't able to equalize trades. They're just trying to see how little losses they can give away safely without taking too much.
Immortals just reminding Cloud9 that they can go for fights at a moment's notice with moves like that from Lebmont. He's over-aggressing, though, perhaps.
Dawn of Shadow comes out, Lebmont flashes away to safety. Oh my god, it just sets up Tarzan for a follow-up on the 3-man Cyclone.
Oh!
A Rocky Zoro, though, 4-man knock-up, and it might have been a 5-man there as well. Chain of Corruptions follows up from Dragoon, but there's just not enough damage from the members of Immortals because they already took to the hills. Hoon is not there. And now they have to scatter Smacks.
The ultimate crowd control from Immortals was really good there. I loved the ultimate from Iraqi Zoro, and I believe that it was the rare 6-man knock-up from Malphite, because he hit all the members and a Wukong clone. So that's a good stat right there for you. I've never seen this before. 6-man knock-up.
That's sick. I think the only other time you ever see that is in Overwatch when you're playing Doomfist, but that's not the same game.
Not Overwatch
Smacks.
2, though.
Yeah. Oh,
in
man.
Overwatch 2, they are purging the tank players.
Oh, really?
So,
well,
yeah, you didn't hear about that? It's going to be a 5v5 game.
Well, I don't keep up with I don't keep up with dead game. I'm just kidding. No flame. Just a subtle flame.
True, though.
I do have a couple colleagues that are very invested in Overwatch, and I've had to console them on their grievances and their losses with recent Overwatch competitive history. But back into this series here, Smacks. I think things to take away from Cloud9 and what they're recognizing from the Game 2 loss is that they just have to wait and bide their time. They need to stall out until their damage dealers in Meals and Jackie are able to hit crucial 2-item power spikes. Essence, Reaver, and Seraph's Embrace, not going to be enough damage in the early game when you are going up against someone like Immortals and the composition that they've drafted. But as soon as you hit that Solari Charge Blade, as soon as you hit what it seems to be a Leandri's Torment coming out from Meals, then maybe you have the burst to annihilate the backline in Immortals.
While Cloud9 are assessing what they can possibly do, I love the play that Immortals just did with a setup for this Drake really well by being there first and foremost, but also with Hoon's ultimate. He didn't actually teleport anywhere meaningful, but just by activating Destiny, you can see where all the members of Cloud9 are. It's one of the rare moments where you get long-range vision in Wild Rift. There isn't anything like the blue trinket that we see on PC League of Legends, but for Twisted Fate, you have that opportunity to scout out where the enemies are. Immortals doing that really well. They miss out on that opportunity to potentially find a pick later, but I personally believe, and so do Immortals, that the Drake is going to be worth it for that.
The gold lead has not increased in amount for Immortals since almost the very first big fight that we saw around that Dragon River. Cloud9 have kept to themselves, and they're just doing the best that they can to minimize the amount of losses they're suffering on the map. Immortals, however, they're not Not taking that advantage without lightness here. In a Cloud9, I'm going to have to give up this tier 1 turret. They try to make a trade over into the mid lane turret, but the rest of Immortals are quick to respond. Going to prevent from any structure damage.
Doesn't look like Cloud9 can trade, as you said. They're rotating down to the Dragon lane, though. This might be where they can lay their claim, but definitely feels like Cloud9 are walking around the wrong side of the Monopoly board. Immortals seems like they've got Boardwalk and Park Place on lock, hotels posted. Cloud9 gonna have to pay the tolls. The first one of which will be the Baron lane turret. They have to worry about some bigger problems, though. They don't want to land on the Baron space. They'll have to give up pretty much everything and maybe become bankrupt.
Something that was cool from Cloud9, they're trying to push and pull Immortals across the map, not opt into full 5-on fights. They almost found a pick onto Hoon, but he didn't step far enough forward.
Ooh.
Now mid lane, he was by himself. Chant of Corruptions is great though, lands on the charm. Iraqi Zoro finding Jackie and Tarzan. With that beautiful knockup, stone plates are going to be engaged, giving them a little bit more takiness and durability. Oh my god! Shockwave is huge, though. Catches up onto the flag and drag from Zello, but the damage is too strong for Immortals, as now they're on the retreat. Tarzan going back in, trying to be the front line for the rest of the members of Cloud9 so they can get out alive, but Immortals still hot in pursuit! And
Cloud9 did it! They stepped on the Baron space! they rolled a 6! That's exactly the number they didn't want to hit in Immortals. They get to take that huge fight for themselves, only losing out on Levmont. They don't quite get the Baron with it, but again, this gigantic advantage that Immortals are sticking with is being oppressed. And you know what? Immortals, they played it slow at the start. They didn't overestimate the damage that they could do, even though they have this lead. They waited for the battle lines to be drawn. This is the exact adaptation that we've wanted to see from Immortals since they gave up that victory in game 1, and they're continuing to do it better and better and better as the minutes in games go on.
I'm going to play devil's advocate, though, here, Smacks. And considering that Immortals' gold lead didn't increase that much, I think that was a decent fight for Cloud9. They lost a couple members in exchange for one, but no Baron was taken. Gold lead is still in their favor. Cloud9 are still powering up. They're scaling up. You have to remember, you have Charm on this Senna, who's going to get more and more souls and increase their effective range as the time and the game goes on. So Immortals, now they're going to force this big fight. Iraqi Zoro onto the backline, lands onto Jackie and Charm. They have to use the package away as a disengaged member, which means Tarzan and Zella are left out to dust. The front line is gone for Cloud9, but can they kite this one out? Meals has done all as he can. The shockwave was great, but it's not going to be enough to set up Charm and Jackie to clean up house. Immortals are still too damn strong to be on the push, and they're going to take this dragon.
Now, you may think that last fight was good for Cloud9, but this one feeling more disastrous. They do lose out on the Drake, too. It's the same numbers as far as the kills that have gone over. Immortals finding 3 and Cloud9 responding with 1. But that extra Infernal Drake now picked up for Immortals is going to feel a little better, and they can go back to just farming up these waves. As a reminder, Immortals still haven't gotten a big recall off, so they still have more power to get. Let's watch what Goom is able to purchase. That's a full Serelda's now on lock. So the extra armor penetration and slow utility for this Varus from afar is going to mean a lot.
Meals is so close to this death cap power spike. It would mean an insane amount of burst damage, but notably, Iraqi Zoro did invest into an Abyssal Mask, so has a little bit of magic resist. There's no Void Staff completed from Meals either, so it's not going to be able to cut through all of the resistances that Iraqi Zoro has built up. The only way that Meals will be able to have a eventful shockwave is if it connects with Hoon, with Goom, and Yikes.
I love the Abyssal Mask purchase for even more reasons than that, too. Hold on.
Okay, Zello locking up the backline members. Can Meals get in there with the shockwave? It's still, the ball is still... Got a bunch of damage down on the Goom, but it's not going to be taking out Yikes and Goom anytime soon. And the front line for Immortals just might be strong enough to deal with the backline of Cloud9 by themselves. Tarzan is still healthy, looks for Goom, bonks him on the head, but now it's just 2 split fights here, Smacks. Frontline for frontline going after the backline respectively. As Iraqi Zoro calls in Hoon, the gold card finds Charm. Tarzan is the only survivor. It's a 1-on-3.
And a very split fight still is going to favor Cloud9. They do a little better this time, but it's just not enough still. Immortals, they do still have everyone fighting at the same time. It's not like it's just some members of Immortals there and the others are in the side lane. No, Immortals do have all of their power being used at once. It's just on different members of Cloud9. So the gold lead is still very effective in fights like this. But I do like the way that Cloud9 did split that up. This is a better look for them. And as they're still trying to remain in the major, remain in the lower side of the bracket, they need more fights that are similar to that rather than the other 5v5s that they found before. And honestly, this feels a little bit desperate right now, Rafa.
Your Redemption and Destiny both used to gain eyes onto Cloud9. They're going to have to re-engage. Zella goes in for the Cataclysm, locks up Yikes and oh, beautiful shockwave! It finds Yikes! Hoon is going to go down as well. Tarzan and Zella trying to buy as much time as they can. It's a nice knockup from Iraqi Zoro, but can Goom clean up? It's a triple for Tarzan. Now it's up to Cloud9. It's a 3-on-2. Can they get through this mount fight? He is so damn tanky. He's just clapping people in the backline. They finally walk through him. They take out Goom, but Iraqi Zoro might have enough damage by himself, but as they're kiting it beautifully out, Beals walks back, the snare from Charm, Cloud9, they're still in it!
The resilience of Charm and Meals finds Cloud9 a miracle ace, but truthfully, the opener from the 5v5 was immaculate. That's the reason that Cloud9 are still playing Wild Rift right now, Rafa. Zello and Meals, the combination, immaculate, with the Cataclysm and the Shockwave finding 3 members. And that was an instance where not all the members of Immortals were fighting at the same time. That was the time where Cloud9 had the numbers advantage, and we're seeing what they can do with it right there. They keep 2 members alive. They deny this Baron, even though they're the ones that started up. They just used it as a tool, as a panic button to bring Immortals closer to them into the trap.
Immortals now staring at a potential comeback from Cloud9, as even though they're still ahead, 5,000 in gold, Cloud9 have the positional advantage over this Elder Dragon. Tarzan is going to try to start it up. Iraqi Zoro finds a 2-man knock-up onto Meals. He's going to get locked up in the Training Corruption, but he flashes it in time. He still has time to be able to look for a return Shockwave. Watch for the ball. He still hasn't used it yet. Oh! 4-man Shockwave from Meals! It annihilates the team! Jackie finds the opportunity, flashes forward! Hoon has to retreat because the rest of the members of Immortals are evaporating! He finds a red card, looks for the wild card, splash damage, but Cloud9, they still live on!
Can Hoon save this, though? The Elder Dragon is still alive. Cloud9, they've got more members. They've got the healing from Senna. Let's see if Hoon can actually find any more picks, or if he just has to watch the advantages pile up for Cloud9. Another miracle fight for Cloud9, though. They're still in this game. Can they turn over to the objective, though? They still have this healing. It looks like Meals and Charm, they're staying in this mid lane. They're going to go for this recall. Okay, they don't quite get this Elder, but still a gigantic denial in Immortals. They've got to be sweating at this point.
The gold lead is starting to stabilize now. It is only a 2,000 advantage for Immortals, and because we're this late in the game, Smacks, it means that Cloud9, they are not that far behind anymore. Look at the item builds. We're getting a Void Staff that was already completed by Meals in that last fight, another Prophet's Pendant. I believe that's going to be built into a Morellonomicon, just getting a little bit of extra pen because there's no magic resist, no durability from Hoon or Goom. It's just stasis, and outside of that, it's it. And you also have a GA. Destiny is going to find and vision all 5 members. 7,000 on the Elder Dragon. Iraqi Zoro has to time this unstoppable force, has to stop the backline in their tracks. They find Hoon, though. Iraqi Zoro only finds the knockup onto 1, and Azal only flashes away. Cataclysm. Shockwave will take out Hoon, and now Tarzan is on the backline. He finds the Cyclone onto the members of Immortals, and there the retreat. Cloud9 being down in the game so long, but they find fight after fight in the late game, and they're turning things around.
Meals team fighting is just way too good, Rafa, but there's a concern, though. They need to go back to the base. There is a super minion in there. They will lose if they leave that unattended. Tarzan is there. They're going to keep their base alive, but can they kill that?
Oh, God. Goom might die here. The flash comes out, though. Immediately, he's going to save the GA. Minion wave is
Can they
still
end
here.
it?
There's a death timer. The shortest one is Hoon on 13 seconds. Gloom is going to have to perform a miracle, but a shockwave comes out. It might buy enough time to hit the Nexus, but Nexus turret aggro is going to be strong. The Jade goes out. If everyone can focus the Nexus turret, this will be the end for Cloud9. There it is! Cloud9, they've done it. It will advance on into the lower bracket finals.
Rafa, we're getting so hype in this one. We still have 2 more series left after this one.
Oh
And
my
maybe
God,
Cloud9
man.
do too. Oh, this series is so close. All of the series today have been so close.
We've got so many bangers, Max. How are we going to survive? We still have 2 more series. We got a best of 3, and we got a best of 5. This, oh no. These teams are trying to kill us, Max.
They're going to have to take us off this broadcast in gurneys at this point. We're going to have to be ushered to the emergency room.
Oh,
if
God.
the series stay like this, Cloud9, oh my word. Meals on this Orianna. His team fighting is just way too good, Rafa. The shockwaves, every single one, back to back to back, game-changing and saving Cloud9 in this bracket. They now get the chance to go up against Enemy and maybe can continue further if they can beat Enemy as well onto that grand finals.
And we have to go back to the lesson that Cloud9 learned in Game 2. The more they dipped into the madness of Immortals, the more they just kept falling further and further behind. They were playing into the hands of Immortals. But for Game 3, as soon as they lost that major fight around the Dragon River, they said, okay guys, we're behind. We cannot afford to give up any more losses. We just have to take a step back. We have to wait on item power spikes, and that's exactly what they did. I mean, to Immortals' credit, they got 3 dragons off of that fight. But then Cloud9 just waited patiently, and finally, one fight, they find the opportunity. They start catching back up, and just from there, smacks. I mean, we saw the rest of the game, how it played out. Everyone at home saw it, but it just, I'm so astonished by the patience and reserve from this team. And if they are able to replicate that against opponents in Enemy and potentially Tribe, or if Enemy can learn something from that as well, then we are going to have an exciting last series in the grand finals. But for now, we have a lower bracket finals coming your way, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you stick around when we come back, because we got Enemy and Cloud9 coming up.